Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors, and if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled, "Neighbor enjoyed parking in my driveway, I wrapped her car in black film to teach her a lesson." If you live in a city, you know just how tedious trying to find a parking spot can be sometimes. Hell, even if you are not in a city, parking can be hard to come by. This is especially true when you live in a neighborhood that is just littered with cars, just like mine. Unfortunately, there are no limits on how many cars each household can have in my neighborhood, and this usually ends up being troublesome because out of 29 houses, there is about 23 parking spots. Some of us have driveways, but boy, let me tell you, it sure is annoying when you have a driveway that you cannot even back out of because of some douchebag that is constantly blocking it. See, here is the thing. We were a family of 4, me, my wife, my stepdaughter, who just recently got her license, and our 5-year-old son. My wife and I shared a car as she worked from home, so did not really see the point in having her own car when we could just share. Or she could borrow our daughter's. So between us, we only had 2 cars. This was perfect as this was all that fit in our driveway and we did not have to park out in the street. Except one day a black car was blocking our driveway. It was a weekend and we were not planning on going anywhere, but that was beside the point. I always felt like parking in front of someone's driveway was disrespectful. Whoever was parking there could clearly see that there were 2 cars parked there and eventually they would have to come out. But that was just that problem. We did not know who this car belonged to, it seemed like a new car in the neighborhood, and that would mean either someone moved in or someone bought a car that they had no space for. The next morning the car was gone, and for the next few days we just assumed that this person was just parking there for a few hours while they visited a friend or something. We did not really continue to think about it, however, that quickly changed. Because several days later we came home to find the black car back in front of our driveway. I was annoyed because I thought this car parking there was only going to be a one-time thing. Now we were coming home after a long day of being out and about and we could not pull into our driveway. So we parked in front of our house, which made me even more pissed off. They had the space to pull up and park in front of our house. That still would have been annoying, but I would have been a lot less pissed off. Now I could not even get into my own driveway. I decided that I was going to try to find out who this car belonged to. However, this also did not happen for a couple of more days and the damn car kept parking in front of our driveway, regardless of if our cars were parked there or not, and every time we would find the car parked there, whoever owned it was nowhere to be found. The car would be parked there in the night and then would leave in the morning. We always missed them until one day we were able to catch a girl driving away in the car. I did not get a chance to confront her as she was already driving away, but not to worry because yes, she returned and it was only a few hours later. And I had enough. I figured I was not going to get a chance to confront this girl anytime soon, so I decided to deal with it the best way that I could. I would make sure without words that she or anyone else would never park in front of my driveway ever again. I had a giant roll of this special black plastic film in my garage and honestly, I don't know for what. It was for a project around the house, but I decided that I was going to wrap her car in it to enrage her. So I waited until it was the middle of the night, I went to the garage, lugged out the giant roll of black film and began wrapping it as thickly and tightly as I could around her car. I was careful not to break her side view mirrors or anything like that. Although I was pissed, I really did not want to cause harm to her car or damage it. I just wanted to get my point across. I was sure she was going to be pissed, but hopefully my pettiness would shoo her away from my driveway. However, imagine my surprise when she came knocking on my door the next morning. She was actually very apologetic and explained that she was trying to sell her old car, and until it was gone, she did not have space in front of her house to park. I calmly explained that she could park in front of my house if she just asked, but it really bothered me that we could not even pull in and out of our own driveway. Besides that, she lived down the street, so we did not know her that well and could not seem to catch her to talk to her about it prior. In the end, she agreed to stop parking in front of our driveway and was actually very patient and sweet about the whole thing. She was not as much of an a-hole as I thought. And by the way, Ripe Stars, fun fact here, as I've mentioned in a previous video, my girlfriend and me recently moved back to the north of Thailand, to Chiang Mai, into a new neighborhood, and at first I almost expected that we might have a little neighbor from hell parking situation going on. The reason for that is, the first couple of times we came home late at night, the neighbors, who all have driveways, parked their damn cars in the street. So it was really difficult for us to get into our own driveway. However, after we really got to know the neighbors, that was no longer an issue and they moved their cars and now everything is fine. But yeah guys, wouldn't that have been the irony? Reading hundreds of Neighbors from Hell stories and then having to deal with my own neighbors from hell. And the next one is also from r/Neighbors from Hell and it is titled Quick Karma. So last week at about 12:45 AM, someone pulled into my complex. They parked near enough my apartment that I could hear their bass. I was surprised how loud it was for nearly 1 AM. I imagine it woke up legit everyone in the complex. At one point though, it got much louder, stayed that loud for a while, like there is no reason to play music that loud outside at nearly 1 AM. I personally don't get off work until midnight and then stay up reading or gaming until 4 AM. So 1 AM noise is not a huge deal for me, I'm not trying to go to sleep. Fast forward to the next day, I leave for work. My car is stored in a garage that is right around the corner of my staircase. Walking there, I pass like 4 cars and one of them was a Porsche SUV with maybe ketchup all over the hood, windshield and driver's side. Maybe it was salsa. It was chunky and bright red, I did not even connect the dots there. Fast forward again to today and there is a note on the community chat room that says putting anything on someone else's car is considered vandalism. I effing lost it. I assume someone got pissed off at that guy blasting music at 1 AM and went out and covered his car in some condiment. I so badly wanted to respond to that community post and say, whoever you are, I wanna buy you a beer. I am making assumptions here, but it all seems to line up and I think it is hilarious. Also, I'm glad my car is safe in a garage. And I'm gonna be honest here, Ripe Stars, and I have to say, the thought of taking some nice tortilla chips and dipping them in salsa sauce that is coming from a Porsche is a pretty nice thing to imagine. Let's just hope the salsa was good. Anyway, if you enjoy the stories about crazy neighbors, then please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support my channel. Thank you so much in advance. The next one is titled Insane Neighbor. Tensions have been high between us and a neighbor down the street at the end of a cul-de-sac after we dared to use the public easement next to their house for a yard project. Other neighbors have used the easement in the same way and we had approvals required by the HOA, etc. They repeatedly called 911 on our dirt being dumped and ever since the wife has ranted about my husband on next door, trying to publicly shame him and making themselves out to be the victim. It is not just my family they've had a conflict with either. The home across the cul-de-sac from them has had to call police to make them move their cars after intentionally blocking him in for daring to park next to his house. The couple who was blocked in is in their 60s and they just got back from the husband's cancer treatments and had a leaf pile the town was about to collect in front of their own home, and just for context as to what awful human beings these people are. Today my husband had the kids riding their go-karts in the cul-de-sac and the wife decided she needed to move her cars into the middle of it to prevent them from playing there while blaring their horn. After driving towards my husband to park in the middle of the street, he tells her she is a crazy person and a witch, and she responded by smacking him in the face. Last I checked, name calling does not justify assault. My husband called the police and she got back in her car to try to leave. The police took 5+ minutes to show up, so she had by the time they arrived. My 6-year-old had come running home hysterically while all this happened, and by the time I got there, I grabbed my 3-year-old and she was driving off. The husband told the police that she hit my husband, he admitted it, and my husband was recording on his phone. Because he knew they would harass us based on many other times we have walked or rode bikes with our kids past their house and they harassed us before. The police said we had to file charges at the magistrate office. When we got down there, the magistrate kind of raised an eyebrow and my husband called the officers back who spoke to the magistrate. They agreed the police had enough to file charges, and I feel so relieved that justice will be served and she will be charged with misdemeanor assault. We were also advised to file a civil no-contact order, so now we get to have that fun tomorrow. I've just never experienced people with so little going on in their lives that they choose to spend their time making their neighbors' children and elderly miserable. I just wish I had more of a clear view of their house to see when the police come pick her up. And the last 2 stories were posted by user HiABHellraiser on r/ripe stories, and the first one is titled Malicious Compliance / Petty Revenge on a Jerk Builder. Backstory: I work in construction delivering prefab houses. The wall frames and roof trusses are made in a factory, made into packs, think IKEA style, only on a large scale. Then they are loaded onto the truck for delivery. Once on site, I unfold the small crane that is fixed to the truck and I unload then, and there is no mess, no fuss for the builders to stand up. Most builders are great, some are good, and I deal with a couple of jerk ones. This story is about one of the jerks I deal with and how I got payback after being called a moron by him and that a monkey could do my job better. Jerk builder thinks he is the only builder that we work with, so he will ring up wanting his load now regardless that he is not booked in for that day, etc. And after missing out one day, he left instructions that when we deliver the wall frames, the roof trusses are to follow straight after. That means when I get back to the factory, the next load then is also his. But now on to the story. About 2 years ago, the company I work for had the jerk builder, JB, and by the way guys, that is a very unfortunate acronym, ring up about 2 PM on a Friday for a load to be on site by 6 AM Monday, knowing that we close at 3:30 PM for the weekend, and it takes about 1.5 to 2 hours to load a truck and trailer. The forklift driver was pissed as he had a doctor's appointment at 3:45 PM that day. He just made it, and after he left the doctor's, he phoned me to tell me what was going on, as I was still coming back from a load that was 3 hours away from the factory, and I would not get back until about 6 PM, which was around dark. I phoned the boss and asked when the load was to go out for delivery. He told me that I needed to be on site and off the truck by 6 AM Monday. I was pissed as this meant I would have to work Saturday, as 6 AM where I am at is still dark and the load was oversize, and I am not allowed to drive oversize in the dark due to government regulations, plus it meant no Friday end of week drinks with the guys at the pub. Now onto the builder's attitude. He was a massive jerk as no one could do anything right, even when he was shown to be wrong with what he was doing, even when he knew nothing about someone else's job like driving a truck. Then run you down even after trying to do it his way and it's not working, saying that you must have done it wrong. So onto the malicious compliance / petty revenge. I arrive at work Saturday morning at 6 AM as the sun was rising and start strapping the load down, check the truck over and then start it up, drive it out of the gate, and I arrive on site around 6:45 AM and start to unload the house. Around 8 AM, JB shows up, tells me the packs are too high and that I need to reduce the height, and I told him why the packs were so high, about 6.5 feet high. He said, I don't care, just reduce the height, so instead of having 3 stacks, he now has 5. After I finished unloading, reduced the height and packing the truck up, I had a mental flash and remembered his instructions, so off to the yard I go, unlock the factory, get out the largest forklift you can imagine and start loading the truck with the roof trusses for JB. I strapped the roof trusses down and off back to the building site I go. Once on site, I work out that not having the frames in 3 stacks, I have no room to put the roof on site, and by now it is 11 AM. So after a little bit of moving frames to get things in the right place so I can unload the roof, it is now 11:30. I start to unload the roof and put the straight on top of the frames. By the time I got back to the factory, it was about 2 PM. So for JB and his crew to start to stand the walls of the house, they will have to do one of 2 things. Number 1, hand move all of the roof trusses before they can start to stand walls, or 2, call a large crane in and lift them off of the wall frames and put them somewhere before they can start. The aftermath, the boss gets a rude wake-up call at 6:30 AM, Monday, by JB going ballistic about what I have done, placing the roof trusses on top of the wall frames and wanting me to go to the site to fix the problem now, or they will have to move them by hand as they cannot get a crane until tomorrow. The boss rings me, going off tap at me until I remind him of JB's instructions that the roof trusses were to follow the wall frames straight after. Then boss asked why I placed them on top of the wall frames, and I told him how I had the packs stacked so that I could fit it all on site, that JB showed up and wanted me to reduce height after me telling him why the stacks were the way they are, and JB telling me to reduce height. The boss said it was a jerk move, but he liked it as I was only following the instructions of JB. I just wished I could have seen JB's face when the boss told him that I was only following instructions even after being told that if I had more stacks, the roof trusses would have to go on top. He is still a jerk that will never change, but he is a bit more careful about telling me what to do. He now knows that I can make his life harder than it needs to be. And the last one was also posted by the same user, and it is titled My Crane and the Entitled Karen Neighbor. As you know by now, I operate a large variety of cranes and high-abs, and by the way guys, if I'm not completely mistaken, a high-ab is also some sort of crane. Anyway, this only happened last week and I got released from hospital about 1 hour ago with the following injuries: 3 broken ribs, fractured left arm, broken left leg and a lump the size of half a cricket ball on my head. Now on to the reason I've got these injuries. My day started normal, I went to work, did my job, etc. Being a Friday, I asked the boss how my frames and trusses for the renovations at my home were going. He said they were finished. I asked if I could deliver them today after work and keep the truck at home for the weekend. That is fine, he said. It's only a small load, so I load up the rigid truck and head home. Now, in the last 3 months, I've gotten 3 new neighbors. The one across the road we will call Karen is a big pain in the butt. Call the cops for anything and everything. She must have their number on speed dial with the amount of times she calls, and not just on me, but everyone. Well, I've pulled up in the truck and got out to move the motorbike's carbox trailer so I can get down beside the house so I can unload in the backyard. Just finished moving all that and the cops show up saying they've had a complaint about the truck parked out front. I told them what I had done so far, what my plans were and how long the truck will be here. Side note, where I live you can only park a vehicle that weighs over 4.5 tons for 1 hour on the street unless loading or unloading in a yard off of the street, as long as you like. And side note, the cops leave, I move the truck into the backyard, and by this time it is 6 PM. Time for some food and I will unload in the morning at 9 AM. Saturday morning I start to unload. 30 minutes later the cops show up again, saying they had a noise complaint from Mrs. Karen across the road and she is standing there with a smug look on her face. I talked to the cops and they said I was doing nothing wrong. They turned to leave, and as they were doing so, Karen came running over, asking why I have not turned off the truck. They said I am not breaking any laws, and Karen said that she will make me turn off that polluting truck. Unbeknownst to me, Karen walks into my backyard and watches what I am doing as I hang up the remote for the crane and climb onto the top of the load. Karen then grabs the remote, not knowing what lever or button controls what. She starts pressing buttons and moving levers, knocking me off of the load from a height of about 3 meters above ground, all with the cops walking back after watching her walk into my backyard. Well, they grab Karen and by this time I am on the ground, knocked out cold. The cops call for an ambulance to deal with me while they deal with Karen, trying to get her into the back of the police car, and in the meantime, my wife is having kittens as she turns the corner to the outer street and see 3 cop cars, 1 ambulance, 1 fire truck, 2 electrician's trucks, because when Karen knocked me off the load, the crane went into the roof with a sling of steel and timber beams needed for the Renault big mess. Karen had been charged with the following: willful destruction of private property, reckless endangerment occasioning actual bodily harm, trespass, and as this was a crane accident, work cover had to be called and already found that $15,000 for operation of a HIAB without a license was needed. Now to rest and recover. Update will follow about Karen and her day in court. Damn guys, I just had to show you, someone just took a little shower and now a special someone is so fluffy, it is ridiculous. It's so damn cute, right, isn't it? So cute. Damn, look at that. Really good fur. So fluffy. And yeah guys, if you have cats, please let me know, do you shower them by yourself? Because we tried it once and it's kind of a disaster. So this time we just let someone do it. And yeah. We just let someone do it and it was obviously much easier. But yeah, I guess most cats don't really like to get showered or take a bath. Disney. So yeah guys, thank you for watching the video and I see you again soon. And ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support and I hope to see you again tomorrow.